Peta, hi, welcome to the Scenic Route podcast. How are you today?
I'm really well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
You're so welcome. And what I just want to say, whatever, like when you're listening in on your favorite podcast, what you don't see is Peta's backdrop. She's like she's in full Christmas spirit. It even looks like you have a Christmas jumper on.
I do. I've got a Christmas jumper with a reindeer on.
I love it.
So every year I buy myself a Christmas jumper. So only one a year, but it means that my collection of jumpers gradually grows.
I love it. Yeah, it's really nice. It's kind of already getting me Christmas spirity. I'm like, this is not mulled wine here I'm drinking, so I'm kind of sad. But well, I'll fix that later on. It's Friday after all, on the recording this. So hey, Peta. So before we kind of dive into today's episode, and which I kind of have a feeling that we're going deep, because we have similar experiences when it comes to chronic health, and how to kind of like claw ourselves back out of despair. Can you briefly like walk us through your story, how you started, how you got where you today? What were your pivotal crossroads, your big moments?
Absolutely. So I am a self-kindness coach and a certified intuitive eating coach. And what that basically means is that I support people to heal their relationship with food, their body, and themselves. Now, that doesn't come from a place of me just being a human who has a great relationship with her body, food, and herself. It comes from a lot of experience in terms of undoing a lot of behaviors, patterns, beliefs in my life, and really working hard on my lifestyle. So you mentioned the fact that I have a chronic illness. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder. And I was diagnosed with that in my early 20s. I had always had issues with food. I was quite a sticky kid, and by that I don't mean I was unwell all the time. I would just always have like a stomach ache or a bit of a reaction to food, and I'd vomit a lot, or I'd have upset stomachs a lot. So it was something that progressively got worse during my teenage years, to the point where I couldn't hold down certain foods and they would make me really, really unwell. And then I went through a period in my early 20s where I was in and out of hospital. I had a tumor in my neck, and other tumors around my body, and doctors didn't really know what was up with me. I was just really unwell, and it was making me really, really sick. I struggled to hold down food. I struggled to hold down water. And it was a really tough time because I felt like I couldn't trust my body. I felt like it didn't matter what I did because I didn't know how to tune in. I didn't know what was going on. And so when I had the tumor in my neck removed, and it was a benign tumor. And the other tumors in my body started to, with a lifestyle change, started to shrink. And I was diagnosed with EDS. And I could have, in that moment, kind of gone, well, it is what it is. I'm just going to live with it, keep going in hospital, keep doing what I'm doing. But I didn't want to just live with it. I wanted to try and thrive. I wanted to try and
thrive with it.
Stronger version of myself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I knew that there was no cure. It's not like I could cure myself from it.
Yeah, it's not going away. It's not temporary. There is not really, it's not, you can take a medical treatment for it and it's going to go away. So basically you could just treat the symptoms of it and improve your overall quality of life, I suppose.
Yeah, and one of those big things for me, I tried a lot. I did a lot of research online, which isn't always the best way to do research. However, when you are struggling and you may have medical professionals in your life who have very strong ideas of what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. Sometimes,
or if they have no clue what's going on, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. So I found that looking at different people's stories, reading, hearing different people's stories open-mindedly, and taking what I thought could apply to me and leaving the rest, and trying different things that really helped for me. So I found that movement is a really big thing for keeping my body flexible and strong. That takes the pressure and the weight off my joints, which is a big issue with connective tissue disorders. And I found that following a certain way of eating, which isn't a diet, so I was very much, for a very long time, kind of not obsessed with dieting, but I was really into it. Like, it really motivated me. It excited me. The idea that you could have a diet and you could change the way that you looked, it was exciting. But of course, now we know that's not the case. Our appearance, the way that we look, our body shape and size is influenced by over 100 factors. And food is just one of those factors. But that was something as well that I was quite heavily influenced by. I was influenced by these influencers online who were
I mean, I think we all are to a good degree, right? Like, I mean, I just suppose we're about the same age, so we grew up with like the very like heroine chic skinny models in the 90s, like, or I don't know, late 90s, early 2000s. That was just kind of like the type of how you were supposed to look, and there wasn't as much diversity in any sense of gender, race, body type that it's now. Still a long way to go, but it has improved since like when I was a teenager, for sure. So there was just like Kate Moss on the covers. And I'm like, oh, okay, I do not look anything like her at all.
and that's the thing, isn't it? That's what we kind of had as role models, Kate Moss, basically. And that's who everyone wanted to look like. And we were sold the idea that once we looked like that, we would be happy. Well, when I got really,
we would be anything. We would be successful. We would be happy. We would have everything come true that we basically want in our lives.
And you'd also be able to do whatever you wanted to do.
Oh, yeah, big, yes, a big thing. Yeah, it's kind of like, if you look this way, it's you give yourself that is giving permission to pursue what you want, to travel or to whatever. It's like
So that was going on, which I think was going on for probably 95% of people my age at the time as well. And when I was really unwell, I lost a lot of weight. I look back at pictures and I do, in some of them, look skeletal. I look really, really unwell. And I can remember even then thinking, I'm still not the weight that I want to be. Now, I wasn't doing anything I wasn't manipulating my food intake at that time to look a certain way. I was unwell. I couldn't hold down food because of how unwell I was. So it wasn't anything to do with any kind of eating disorder, but that really stuck with me, the fact that even when I was that unwell and my body was really struggling, I still looked in the mirror and was like, if I could lose a bit more weight, then maybe I'd be able to do X, Y, and Z. Now, that kind of combined with the fact that I'd started to look after my body once I'd been diagnosed and looked into what are other people doing? How are other people managing this chronic illness? And I realized that exercise doesn't have to be for punishment. I can find ways of moving that feel really lovely. It's not like I don't have to shut myself in a gym. And if you like being in the gym and you like being on the treadmill for hours and it's something that feels great, then brilliant.
You
didn't feel great. Exactly. So that played a huge part. And then from there, it was kind of a natural progression of, I started to really take care of myself, because I realized when I was beating myself up, when I've been judgmental to myself, I was only making myself worse. Because with most chronic illnesses, when you're stressed and when you're putting pressure on yourself,
such a big trigger.
It triggers. If you're not already going through a flare up, it tends to trigger flare ups really easily.
Yeah.
And so it all kind of, I wish that I wish I could say this happened and this happened and this happened, and then I trained, and then this is why I do the job I do. But actually, it was a whole load of different things and a whole
Yeah, it was
roller
more
coaster
of a
of
scenic route, wasn't it?
definitely was more of the scenic route. And so I started combining that. And once I'd worked on my lifestyle changes and I was starting to eat foods that felt good to me, I found intuitive eating. And intuitive eating is it's a self-care food way of living, is the way that I describe it. So there are no hard and fast rules. It's all about kind of undoing your diet beliefs, food beliefs.
I mean, let's be even more crass, like undoing damage that's been done to us by the diet industry.
Yeah.
Right? By like, hey, a bowl of Kellogg Special K is like a full nutritionist breakfast. Shit. I'm like, no, it's not.
So it's all about undoing that and then healing your relationship with food and learning to tune into your hunger and your fullness without an app telling you when to eat or when to stop
kind
eating.
Of like going back to when we were children, you know, like you were born, like every child is born with an innate sense of, I am feeling hungry or I'm feeling full. And then we have parents with their own projections, society who comes in and just messes with that, you know, things like, I don't know, finish up your plate. Oh, right? Or
with the very best will in the world, with the very best intentions. All parents
they're not it's not malicious, but it's kind of like, I mean, I also do not want to waste food. It's terrible to waste food, but at the same time, I'm not telling my kid you have to eat up the plate. At the same time, we're not restricting foods or like sweets, because the more we restrict foods, the more we're like, oh, we're putting them on a pedestal and saying like, oh, this is something special, candy. It's so high up. We're only having it, I don't know, once a year. And of course, you as a child go like, candy. So we're trying to normalize all food groups and being more mindful about like, what your body, and trying like nutrition knowledge to tell, like, for a 3-year-old now, right? I mean, like green foods make you stronger and help your body to fight off illnesses, and orange foods help your eyes see better, something, I don't know, stuff like that, just to already be like, you know, you actually know best what to put in your body, because you live with the consequences of how it feels, how it makes you feel.
Absolutely. And that was one of the big things as well. I have allergies and I have food intolerances.
Same. I mean, I live with celiac disease, so I think gluten is that's been cross-contaminated.
Yeah.
I mean, that has to go out. And still, you can do the intuitive eating. It's just adding another layer of it's just really not well for your body.
Exactly. But I think that can help someone. If someone does have a food intolerance or an allergy, it can help them to better learn how to tune into their body, because they've already got really strong signals that their body is sending them when something doesn't feel good. And that, looking back at my teenage years, my early 20s, that was what was causing me to be unwell much of the time, were food allergies and intolerances, which hadn't been diagnosed. Yeah. And so, as well as obviously a huge flare up of EDS made me very, very unwell. But couple it, like, put it all on top of each other.
Yeah, it's kind of stacks up, right? Like there's a little stack of like, oh, okay, I've eaten that food, I'm not feeling so well. And then it's just adding up until it's just too much, and your body's like, nope.
And then what I learned to do was, over the years, I learned to start tuning into, I can feel a flare up coming. Okay, what do I do? What works? And so I would start keeping a record of things that I would try if I felt a flare up coming. And sometimes it would just come, and I would be really unwell. But sometimes I'd be able to kind of bring myself back from the edge, because I'd start feeling those initial signs, those initial feelings, and I wouldn't get to that point where I'd have a flare up. And now, after over a decade of practicing this stuff and recording it, I'm really good at noticing when my body is close to getting to a point where I could trigger a flare up, and I pull everything right back. and I do everything that I need to do to hopefully stop it from happening. So for me, it's about only prioritizing the most important stuff. It's about getting as much sleep as possible. It's about going for a really gentle walk every day, drinking plenty of water, staying as calm as possible, journaling if I'm stressing out, to get everything out of my head onto paper.
Kind of like really calm the nervous system, calm the body, and like
absolutely
slowing down.
Gentle stretching, not even yoga, just gentle stretching. And I'd say 80% of the time I can pull myself back from having a flare up. And if I do end up having a flare up, it's never as bad as it used to be. I used to go through months and months of flare up, and now it might be a couple of weeks, and then I'll be over it and I'll be taking care of myself. So all of this stuff, when I learned all of this stuff and I learned how to take care of my body, I then desperately wanted to share it with others, because it truly changed my life. It changed the way I thought about myself, and it changed the way that I lived my life. So I wanted to share it with others.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like it's not. I had this conversation with another coach recently, and also with one of my therapists at one time or several times. Like it's not a prerequisite to have a coach or a therapist that has like a similar journey to yours, but I feel it's just incredibly helpful, because most of the time the people like you and I, we've gone through an extensive medical history of that usually starts with, oh yeah, you're fine, just, I don't know, eat less, move more, do more yoga, do more meditation, and having kind of like really fight for like, no, I'm actually feeling unwell and it's not cured by doing more yoga. So I feel it always helps if you can establish kind of like, it's almost kind of like you always already have like one trust coin in your trust piggy bank.
Yeah. I had a lot of antibiotics thrown at me whenever I was unwell. That was kind of my doctor's number one thing, was just take these and you'll be fine. And obviously that doesn't, if you don't need antibiotics, that really doesn't help your system.
No, it actually messes up your system. Like, but
they're fantastic if you need them. Amazing. They are, of course, brilliant.
I mean, we're absolutely 100% for science and medicine and everything, but if your body is not fighting something off, just throwing antibiotics at it will not gonna do much. So I kind of wow, I feel it's so amazing that you're kind of like, through keeping track and really tuning in and noticing, that you're kind of like, oh, okay, I sort of can predict when a flare-up's coming. I mean, I'm nowhere near that stage. I've only been diagnosed like 1.5 years ago, so I'm still like piecing together puzzles. So I mean, that's amazing. And what really stood out to me, what you said, is like that, oh, you know, I just started doing different things and trying what worked. Like, can you like tell us more about like how, with what kind of mindset you've approached this? So I mean, you've been diagnosed, like, you know, okay, I could just, you knew, oh, I don't want to just continue like this. I had enough. I want to feel better. So what were then like your actionable steps that you took at the time?
So I am a very can-do, positive person. I'm a doer, a complete doer.
The glass is half full.
The glass is half full. I was brought up that way. My parents brought me up to be a positive person, and they also brought me up to always do my best. And that, when you're brought up to do your best, that's a brilliant thing, because there was no emphasis on achieving the best. It was about me putting in effort. That was all that mattered to me. So whenever they got like my grades home from school, they never looked at what I got my grades. They looked at the effort part. And as long as the effort was high, they were so proud of me. They were delighted. I mean, they were proud of me all the time, but they were delighted with me. And they were like, you're doing your best.
That's amazing. Yes, exactly. So, it's about doing what is possible for you at the time, in the situation, in the season you're in.
Yeah.
Anything else is just placing unachievably high expectations on yourself, which just
Exactly.
gonna
So
turn sour at the end.
yeah, so what I did was I had that backing from my family of just do your best.
Yeah.
And so I started to look at different forms of movement. I'd been doing yoga since the age of 15, 16. That's always been a go-to for me. It's always been a constant in my life. But then other things like looking into learning how to row, because that was it's not high impact. So I'm sat as long as I'm doing that properly, there's only certain movements that you're going to do. So you're not going to be harming that connective tissue as much. In January of this year, I had a car accident, so I can't row anymore because I injured my back. But that was a great one for a form of movement. I started looking at different morning routines, different evening routines. What were people doing to look after themselves? How were people properly looking after themselves? Not this idea of lighting a candle, running a bubble bath, which is lovely to like chill you out before bed. But what were they doing? How were they actually taking care of themselves?
Yeah, kind of like talking about the true, like true self-care, like and the many forms it can take, right? Like it's I don't know. We're getting again perpetrated by the media that there's a certain capitalistic look on how self-care should look like, right? Like, oh, you're taking care of yourself if you're doing a weekly mani-pedi, which is fine. If you want to do a mani-pedi, then go fucking do a mani-pedi, right? But there's so many more types of self-care that I feel like let's open up the discussion on self-care, because I feel like we're not fully acknowledging all the completely free or let's say monetary free ways of taking care of ourselves. And
so the biggest one is sleep. Like it is the thing. It is the miracle worker. And it's
sleep,
financially free
napping
for everyone. Having a nap, getting a good night's sleep, like that's one of the things that whenever I work with someone, I always say, and we've spoken about this before, there is no golden bullet to health. There's nothing that I can say, do this and it will fix everything. But sleep, if you can get good quality sleep every night, it's not going to fix everything, but it's going to make you feel a hell of a lot better. You're going to think, you're going to be able to think clearly, you're going to be able to tune in better, you're going to be able to
you're more balanced, you're not snapping at your kids so easily. It just
and ripples. It also gives your body time to repair and your mind to process.
So
that's a huge one. And I don't think that one's, I think it's getting a little bit better now, but we definitely went through a phase in our culture of who needs sleep. Let's just
the 5 a.m.
everyone
entrepreneur club or something. I don't know. You go to bed at 1, you have 4 hours of sleep, that's good, and you're getting up at 5.
Literally what I did. I was getting about 4 hours of sleep in my early 20s. I had a business and I was sleeping about 4 hours a night. Or like horrendous for health and well-being. So that's a huge one, I would say. And that was a big one that I really started to prioritize, was sleep and naps. And then eating foods that sustained my energy levels was another huge thing. So not being hungry all the time, not thinking about food all the time, eating substantial meals that sustained my energy levels, that meant that I had more energy to be moving around all the time, to think of stuff, to use
so actually also like really dissecting what this looks like for you. Like, does it mean more protein, I suppose, or does it mean, I don't know, what kind of foods make you feel better and what kind of foods make you feel kind of like sluggish?
So that's going to depend. Obviously for many of us, we are going to have similar ones, but for each person there are going to be certain things that make you feel really good, that are really satisfying, because food satisfaction is really important as well. When we enjoy food, we absorb more of the nutrients from that food.
So I didn't know that.
So there's been some great
interesting, which makes sense, but Oh, wow. So if I'm like, if we're going to be over the top, if I'm like, I hate Brussels sprouts, but I eat them by the pound
They're good for me.
because they're good for me. Everyone told me I should eat Brussels sprouts, but I fucking hate to do so. Your body actually takes on less nutrients than if you would just say, I love Brussels sprouts. I do, but that for the purpose of this conversation.
we can't kid out. We can't kid our body. So, say for example,
yeah, the body keeps the score always, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So, if we don't like Brussels sprouts, so I don't like Brussels sprouts. I cannot stand Brussels sprouts. So I don't eat them. I don't eat them because I don't.
That's
like
fair.
Them.
Like, yeah, there are plenty of other nutritious vegetables out there.
Absolutely. But what I could say is, well, to be honest, my body's not going to absorb as many nutrients from these Brussels sprouts. I cannot tell you how much I love crispy kale. I adore kale.
Yeah.
Massage with olive oil and some salt and pepper.
Oh, that is delicious, though. Yeah.
Now, my body, because I love it, my body's going to absorb more nutrients from that.
Oh, that is so interesting. Yeah.
So,
which makes sense, right? Like the mindset behind it is if you can do the same action, and it's just completely different depending on how you approach it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We've got that side of things. So we've got the side of food satisfaction, eating foods that we really enjoy, and then eating foods that sustain our energy levels. So for each person, that's going to look different, and it will be different on different days as well. But even, for example, breakfast, I know if I have 2 pieces of toast for breakfast, as an example, that I will be hungry an hour and a half later.
Yeah.
It does not
fast carbs, good. Poof. Yeah.
But if I team that with a boiled egg or a poached egg, I'm good for 2.5 hours until I need a snack. Yeah. Or if I have a smoothie and I make sure there's oats in there and nuts in there.
Yeah, or nut butter, or just to give an extra cream or something. I really like nut butter to put in smoothies. So yeah, it's just you stay fuller longer.
So again, that's also about that healing your relationship with foods. It's about giving yourself full permission to try these different pairings. What satisfies me? What keeps me fuller for longer? What makes me feel really good? And what tastes really good? Really important. So we know, like, for example, I know my body, absolutely, that kind of food that we label as fast food, it really dislikes it. It may taste really nice in the moment, but it makes my body feel really bloated, really heavy. I tend to get quite gassy. I feel quite sick. The next day I feel awful.
You almost feel like sweaty. I do almost feel like sweaty. Like I feel like there's grease coming out my pores or something. I don't know. I just feel icky.
So when I work with clients, I'm not saying eat this, eat this, eat this. This is good, this is bad. Within intuitive eating as well, we don't label foods as good or bad or healthy or unhealthy because it creates restriction, and restriction always leads to binging. At some point, we'll go, oh, I'm just going to have the bad food and I'll deal with it later.
Yeah.
But what I do is I work with clients to look at what foods make you feel good and what foods make you feel bad. It's not that we're staying away from those bad foods, but I'm willing to bet that once you've actually mindfully tried these foods and gone, I don't really like it, or it doesn't really feel great, you're less likely to have that next time.
Yeah, and I mean that example, not only what just brings to mind is it changed, for example, also my relation to alcohol. Like I was never a really big drinker, although studying in Ireland did not help. But I don't know, I was never like, oh, I have too many drinks. But I was actually like, especially after like having a baby and nursing, I was like, I don't feel good after like 2 glasses of wine. I just don't feel good. I'm like, drowsy. I don't know, just not feeling good. So I like, okay, I can have a glass of wine if I really want to with dinner and still feel fine. Yeah. But if I have, depending on types of food, what I eat and how I feel, I may have a second glass, but after that, there's a high chance I'm not feeling so well.
That's what it's all about. It's about tuning in and noticing. And so I work with people who have gone through the whole intuitive eating program on their own with the book. and they come to me and they're like, I've got a few things I want to iron out. Can you coach me around?
What is the book? Can you tell me what's the Bible?
Yeah. So there are 3 books. They're all called the Intuitive Eating book. There's a textbook, a workbook, and a journal. And all 3 are by Evelyn Tribole and Elise Resch. And I trained with Evelyn Tribole.
Oh wow!
They're incredible. They are brilliant books. And they're very much, like I said before, it's a very gentle approach to eating and healing your relationship with food.
Because that's the point, right? Like, I mean, I'm a living example. If shaming people for foods they eat would work, I would be fucking skinny as a rake. It just doesn't work. Shaming yourself or letting your body be shamed by others, it's not going to help permanently long term. It's just not.
Not no. So sometimes I have clients come to me after they've worked through that process, and they're like, I've got a few things I need to talk to you about. Can we work through these things? And then sometimes people come to me and they're like, I want to do this, I just want guidance the whole way through. I just need to talk to about it.
Because someone on the sideline is kind of like coaching in.
Yeah, exactly. So I just need someone who's kind of looking at my food diary and picking up things that maybe I'm not picking up on. So I'm not looking at what they're eating. I'm looking at how satisfying is it to them? How long is it sustaining their energy levels? When are they eating next? And what are they feeling like? What are their physical symptoms afterwards? What's going on mentally for them around this as well? What are they writing in their
You kind of like see patterns emerge in most cases, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Looking at patterns. And then if I'm working with a woman who has her period, I might be like, did you by any chance start your period on this day until this day? Because we can start seeing patterns as well.
They emerge and repeat. Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And that's amazing. That's knowledge is power. That's what I always say to my clients. That knowledge and that information is power, because then you know. So you know next month, right, for the past couple of months, I've been tracking this, and on this day, this happens, this day, this happens. So you're not beating yourself up. If on day 17 of your cycle, you eat 3 pieces of toast as a snack in the morning, and then another really heavy snack in the afternoon, you're like, this always happens. I don't know why I do it. What's wrong with me? If you know that day 17, actually that happens every month, it's probably because your body's gearing up, it's getting ready.
Yeah. And then you can, like, you kind of like work working to kind of like prevent it and be like, oh, okay, I know tomorrow, most likely I need more energy. So maybe tonight I have, I don't know, extra protein. So I don't know, like brown rice or something, just something that sustains me longer. So I don't need this quick burst of like white toast in the morning.
Exactly. And the thing about it is, the way that I do it is, rather than us fixating on labels, we're looking at the foods that feel good for you. So we're looking at meals where maybe brown rice and a curry sustains your energy levels for longer. Now, we know scientifically, when we look at nutrition, we know that brown rice is going to sustain energy levels and keep us fuller for longer than white rice.
Yes.
But if I'm saying that to a client, then they're going to fixate on that information rather than how it's feeling in their body. But we don't, that's what
so they're like, oh, okay, science tells me brown rice is better than white rice, so I'm going to eat brown rice because science said so.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got to be very careful with what type of information is needed at the touch point the client's at.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's really easy. We've grown up within diet culture where we fixate, we're told that this is a superfood, and suddenly everyone's rushing out to buy it. We're told that this is, and we eat all of it. So it's really important, I think, that when it comes to your relationship with food, knowing the foods that feel good for you, the likelihood is they're going to tally up really similar to everyone else. And then we can look in the background. If you wanted to, you could look at the background of why does this make me feel stronger? Why does it keep me fuller for longer? Why do I feel great when I eat this way and not eat this way? But none of that actually matters to your human experience. What matters is that you're eating foods that feel good for you, and your explanation is because it just feels right. Because you start to learn what feels right and what doesn't feel right. And it's a bit, I used to teach English. I lived in Barcelona for 19 years and I taught English. And I used to teach people I used a way of teaching that didn't focus on grammar. And within Spain, in terms of foreign language English teaching, there's a huge focus on grammar and grammatical structure and why. And so I went away from it. All my students
more like
were
conversation-based approach.
It was all about conversation. It was all about what sounds right. And so I'd say to them, why do you say it like that? And they'd say, it just sounded right. Perfect. They don't need to when they're in a business meeting or when they're presenting or when they're closing a huge deal. They don't need to know why something is said the way it is said. They just need to have confidence that it sounds right. They don't need to explain it. Just like with food, none of us, like your everyday person isn't a dietitian. They don't need to know in-depth information about nutrition. They just need to know what feels good in their body and what doesn't feel good.
Or we can even boil it even down more. They just need to know what makes them feel confident about food, about nutrition.
Yeah.
Oh, let's open up the conversation, because this is also super highly relevant to business, and high chance everyone who's listening in is self-employed or thinking of starting their own business. And I see so many similarities, right? When you start your business, most likely what happens is I see my clients, the first thing what they do is kind of like, oh, okay, I need to have knowledge. I need to know how to build an email list, how to build a freebie, how to build a website, how to So you sponge up all this information, which is great. Nothing wrong about that. But you tend to lose, well, what do I actually want to do? Like, is it actually fun for me to build an email list? Do I actually want to be on TikTok? Do you actually want to, like, right? So again, like, really being critical of how much information you're actually Googling before you're disrupting whatever it is you actually want. Yeah, right. And the same goes if not just for you building your business, but also you building your services for your clients. Like, actually being mindful of, as you said, and I love this example, like, my clients, I don't need to like bulldoze them with all this nutritional knowledge, but actually, like, okay, how can I build my service in a way that the client at every step of my service, pre, during, and post, they get the information they need at the time, right? So they feel confident and not completely like, okay, I'm giving up. Nope. Okay, I just gonna, I don't know, go back to what I was doing before, because this too much. I love that. That's kind of like a way to deal with overwhelm, to really be critical of what do we need to increase the confidence of the client, whether that's in regard to food or movement or business or whatever, copywriting, designing, whatever it is. It's always the same.
Yeah. And when we take care of ourselves in that way and we learn to tune in and listen, we get stronger at that in other areas of our life. It's not just a one area thing.
No, yeah. Oh yeah, I love it. Oh, this is so good. And I really like how it's so true. Like, we can, we all know the areas in our lives where we're like always so quick to jump to external advice. And it's good, because we all have blind spots and we all need to be very reflective of what we do. And it's great to have coaches to, like you said, some people just want to have you look at their thing and see what patterns are emerging, because you cannot see it if you're in the trenches yourself. But to really, not just to quickly downplay your experience and go look for like the magic bullet, the golden bullet.
You are the expert of your body. You're also the expert of your business. You're also the expert of your life.
Yeah.
That you hold all of that experience, all of that past history in your mind. You know the way that you react to things. You know what your weaknesses are, what your downfalls are. You know what your strengths are.
Yeah. That is so true.
Suddenly outsource all of that worth and value to someone on the internet you've never met, who's telling you how to run your business or how to run your,
or how to move your body,
how to move your body, how to eat, and they don't know you.
And this, I mean, like, oh God, the many times I had like a PT tell me, oh, running is very good. And I'm like, yeah, sure. But every time I run, like the vibrations, my uterus, I mean, I have endometriosis and adenomyosis. So every time my uterus like bumps under my pelvic bone, it can be really fucking painful. So, and then it's like with these bouncing on solid ground, like these high impact sports. There are days, yes, where it works, but there are a lot of days where this is not helping at all.
So that's another thing as well. I always say to clients, give yourself full permission to say, I don't like doing that, so I'm not going to do it, with the open mind of leaving that door open, that should you in the future decide, actually, I want to try it again, you can't. Like, you don't have to make rules today that you must follow forevermore.
Oh, this is so important. I love that you said that, right? Like, it's okay if you change your mind. If you wake up tomorrow and be like, hey, maybe I do like Brussels sprouts, or maybe I do like high impact sports. You try again. And if you do, that's great. If you don't, that's great.
It's the same in business as well. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to pivot. It's okay to kind of go, this isn't working for me. And it doesn't mean I'm a failure. It actually means I'm looking at my business and I'm looking at what's working and what's not.
So actually being more kind to yourself, really, that's what it's about. No.
So that's what it all comes down to. And this is where I think sometimes when people first look at my business, because I'm a self-kindness coach and then I'm an intuitive eating coach, they're like, they are so intrinsically linked. We cannot heal our relationship with food and our body if we're not kind to ourselves, if we don't learn to be kind to ourselves. Because when we're healing our relationship with food, we're not just looking at what foods sustain us and feel good. We're looking at secret eating. We're looking at binge eating. We're looking at dieting, ways in which we punished our body.
Well, all the ways, like, right, like if we over exercise or if we over deliver in client relationships, I mean, this is endless. I feel we have to start with being more kind to us and understanding why we did certain things, because we did this because of the best of our knowledge at the time.
And the one thing I ask clients to start doing is get comfortable making mistakes. Because that's where we learn. So as you learn to eat intuitively, you are going to eat past the point of comfortable fullness many times. And it's not about kind of going, I really messed up. I ate past the point of comfortable fullness. I feel awful. What was I doing? I knew I was doing it.
Like crapping all over yourself.
Actually go, that's interesting. I ate past the point of comfortable fullness.
Why did I do that?
What happened? Like, was I distracted? Was I feeling upset? Was I stressed? Was I really enjoying myself? What happened? How can I learn from this? Because I'm not feeling great right now. So that next time it doesn't happen. Because it's okay, because you're doing the best you can. And I'm going to keep showing up for myself. I'm not just going to go, I made this mistake, so I obviously can't do it forevermore. It's all about continually showing up for yourself. Always, every day, every moment of every day.
Oh, I love this. Oh, Peta, this is such, this is so powerful. And such a brilliant reminder, especially every time you're feeling stressed, or that the expectations that you have towards yourself or that others placed in you are too high, to really be mindful of that. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that.
So it goes together. It all goes together.
It's linked.
It's linked within everything. If our businesses are only ever going to benefit if we're kind to ourselves, there's not going to be some kind of negative toll.
Shaming and
shame, guilt, getting frustrated, overworking, over delivering. They're not going to have a positive effect on our business. Being kind to ourselves, prioritizing our self-care, prioritizing rest, not giving ourselves a hard time when we make mistakes, but learning from it. Those are all things that our business or businesses are going to grow from.
Yeah.
They're going to be better from, and people are going to want to work with us because that invites people in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a whole different energy of showing up, while as you're shaming yourself into whatever it is you're doing. Oh, I love this. Hey, Peta, thank you so much for like showing us how like we can nourish our lives soulfully. Let me to kind of like end this conversation, I have two more questions. One is where can people find you online, where you hang out, so people can get in touch?
So my website is nourishingsoulfully.com. I am usually on Instagram, which is at Nourishing Soulfully. I share a lot of my cats on there.
Ooh, yes.
And I try to share non-triggering, gentle content that is valuable on there. That's really important to me, that anything I put out in the world is really valuable and something can be taken from it. And then I've got a blog on the website. I've got a Substack where I post regular information on nourishing your life soulfully. I've got a couple of podcasts too, and I'm also on TikTok and Twitter, but not so much.
Instagram, okay. But we're gonna connect. I also want, then let's connect on TikTok, because that's my current experiment, TikTok, to kind of like see where this is.
I love it as a user.
Yeah, I really have grown fond of it, I must say. It's quite fun, I must say. It's quite fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my last question is always, because I'm always interested, what book are you currently reading?
So where is it? I've just started a new one.
Ooh.
Here it is, The Divided Self.
Oh, the cover looks amazing. I love it.
Yeah, so I can't tell you much about it yet because I've only just started it, but I'm very into anything to do with the mind, psychology, our behavior, the way we think, the way we do, about ourselves, self-compassion. So I'm continually reading about all of this stuff, which I hope makes me a better coach, because I can kind of draw.
Well, everything, like all your experience will make you a better coach, for sure, right? Like, and all the books, all the books too. I mean, as you've said during our conversation, right? Pick what resonates with you, and
leave the rest.
Drop the rest. Yeah. Thank you so much, Peta, for having this conversation with me on the Scenic Route podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on the Scenic Route podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure.
It was. Thank you.